Oh,
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya 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 hey ha yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Uki Ebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pevi hagik tabi ichachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ugi Ebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi no yo yo wata pevi hagik tabi ichachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ugi Ebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pevi hagik tabi ichachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Peck Community College Uki Ebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pevi hagik tabi ichachi ya bino hey yo
Ha. Oh, mitakapi. Petuash ha.
oh,
Mitakapi. Taiwan kapi. Hello, relatives. Again, thank you for hanging out with us here on the Buffalo Chasers podcast. I'm glad you could join us today. Joined again, as usual, with Dekshi, Mr. Tommy Christian is in the house. We are short. One of our amigos today, Dekshi Earl, is a little under the weather. We're going to be sharing some thoughts and prayers with him as he's a little under the weather, but Doksha next week, man, he'll bring it. I know for sure next week. So before we get started on our discussion here on mental health and wellness and all that good stuff, Dekshi, if you would share a prayer with us in a good way, if you could, please.
Hechitula ushima lo mitaki api na ha. Ucheki agaga hecha na ha. Omakia kiksiapo nitaki api. Mayazapi na nitaki api. Chante yoksi chomani kiksiapo. All my relatives, again, we would like to welcome you to our podcast. Again, it's Thursday at 3 to 4. We come to you live and in person, as well as in person as we can be through this virtual experience. But again, I'd like to help you all to understand the importance of remaining responsible, not only to yourself, but to your family, your tribe, your community, by looking after your own personal needs, washing your hands, keeping at a social distance, wearing your mask, those sorts of things, getting your shots, your booster shots, all that good stuff. Just wanted to remind you of that. But today, if you just help me out as we go to this higher power, this creator, whatever you refer to that as, that kind of guides you along in this walk on this Mother Earth, that as we spend time here with all of the creation that's here amongst us, we want to kind of understand our place and our position in our preparation for this next place, this next dimension that we're preparing ourselves for. So keep that in mind, think about that, and I'm going to share a prayer with all of you in my Lakota language. Ushima lo makia na hauchekia mitakiapi. Atukashila na wakantanka tateuya topa. Unchimakana makaina. Naku mitakiapi wanagi makpea kta. Usha ke nitakiapi unchimaka omani wayazapi na mitakiapi chante yoksicho mani o chakiapo ushi wichalapo. Atukashila na wakantanka giksiapo mitakiapi winukchalapi wichakchalapi wakajapi ukshilapi winchinchalapi koshkapi wikoshkapi wichozani upi chanku ashte upi ambe tukile. Atukashila na wakantanka Mushia ke giksiapo mitakiapi agichita oyate ki zuya ekta wichasha bile wiapile chanku washte unkubi. Giksiapo mitakiapi naha itanchiapi hecha naha o wichakiapo ushi wichalapo nasu washake unkubi nagi washte unkubi okiawo ushi wichalapo. Atukashila na wakantanka Oyate oyasi chanku luta aga omani owichakiapo ushiwichalapo. And my grandfathers and my grandmothers that assisted me as I sat on the hill, wishing to approach and understand my purpose and my dedication as I walk this Mother Earth, I come to you on this day and ask you for continued guidance and understanding as we try to strengthen our minds and understand the importance of preparing ourselves through our body and through our hearts and having a good heart as we share them in a good way. The importance of being truthful and kind to others, to having compassion and empathy for those that may be having a tough time on this day. We're going to ask that you continue to watch over all of those that in the spiritual way, they continue to understand the importance of that guidance and that direction that come to them. And as we do these things, we realize and acknowledge those efforts that are put forth to make this life better, not for themselves, but for those that are following. Toke takia, mushiake mitakia pinaha, the future that is represented by our children as we try to make this place a better place than what we received as our relatives have done in the past. So we pray for all of those that have been here before us and prepared this road and prepared this place for us and left it in a good way so that we can continue to prosper and understand the importance of that true meaning of life, which is procreation. And as we do these things, we pray and we ask that you continue to watch over all of those that are having a tough time out there, especially our elders, the old men and the old women that we hold dear to our hearts, watching over all of the children that are understanding the importance of their purpose and their dedication as they share in a good way from a spiritual perspective, the way of life in which we understand is unique only to us as individuals. And in that, we continue to share in a good way this opportunity to be critical thinkers and to have a mind of our own. The Creator blessed us with such good things that we want to make sure that we can expand it and understand the importance of these good things. So on this day, we pray for all of those that are out there, all of those that are having a tough time, all of those that are understanding the importance of these things, such as the staff and the administration, the board of directors, all of those at the Fort Peck Community College that provide guidance and direction so that we can continue to have gatherings such as this in such a hard time as COVID has presented to us. And now we're going to overcome it. We're going to adapt. And in a good way, we share these good words on behalf of all of us here on this Mother Earth. To all of you that help us and guide us in a good way, in a spiritual manner, we want to thank you for those good things. Hau mitake oasi, wamakashka oasi.
Wow, whoopida. Actually, beautiful prayer again. So relatives, what we try to do with our Buffalo Chasers podcast every week is to incentivize a little bit of participation, try to engage the community a little bit, do our little part with that. And so one of the things that we do is a drawing. We have a couple of drawings for a couple items, a Buffalo Chasers jacket, and also a Kindle Fire tablet. So, and so there was 2 individuals from last week's podcast on the social media page that showed us some love, that smashed that like button, gave us a share, a like, something in those regards. If they were to do that, they were to get their name in the hat. So those 2 individuals are, for a Buffalo Chasers jacket, is Diane Gay Hardy is her name. So winner. She can win a Buffalo Chasers jacket. And then we also have a Kindle Fire tablet up for grabs. And so the winner of that is Kelly Stevenson Sargent. Winner, chicken dinner. Congratulations, Diana and Kelly. You can retrieve both those items at the Student Services receptionist area, the War Eagle Vision building here at Fort Peck Community College. If you're local and you're here in Poplar, Wolf Point, just stop on over. We'll hook you up. If you're outside of the service area, or if you just want to have that good social distancing, that's all good too. We'll just give us a phone call, shoot us an email. We'll give us your jacket size, and we'll send it on out. So you can call 406-768-6370, and we'll get those prizes out to you. So again, congratulations to both of you. So just as a review and reminder, when I'm thinking about our programming and our discussion, sometimes I take for granted that we have a lot of repeat listeners, but sometimes, man, somebody brand new comes in and joins us. And so we're off to a brand new semester. Spring 2022 is upon us, and we had virtual student orientation yesterday, and we just really brought it. We had a lot of participation, a lot of brand new faces locally, and then through that online programming that we have, there's some students from outside of the service area, our typical service area, that are a part of it. And so that was really good to see, really encouraging. And so I gave us a little plug during that 3-hour presentation. And to start it out, which I thought was really cool, actually Tommy is always really gracious with his time, and he started us off in a good way with a prayer. And so that's one of the things we always like to do with our programming, because that's our culture. That's one of our main missions of our institution here at Fort Peck Community College, which is also one of the main reasons we initiated our podcasting in the first place, was because there was that cultural literacy component. We want to share this with everybody, and not be stingy with some of the cultural perspectives that individuals like Dexy Tommy and Dexy Earl, that they live and walk this way, and they're gracious enough to share with us. And so we wanted to utilize this podcast. I think we've had a good reach with that this past year or so. And so for any new students that have joined and they're wondering what the heck are these guys doing this podcast, Buffalo Chasers podcast. Hey, Unkiapido, that is who we are. It's a lifestyle. It's kind of like our mantra, our theme for our community college and our campus. And so we want to include you to join us in this programming every week, Thursday from 3 to 4. And we always try and cover different content but it's always in a sharing way. And so, Dex, whatever you want to share with us this week, we're all ears. What do you think about all that good stuff?
How Toshka Dai Chano Wana Ke Echetuelo Wopila Chicha. Again, my relatives, we welcome you here to our podcast. Just let you know and hook us up. And we've done this about 50. This is about the 58th week that we've done this, or somewhere in there, Toshka? And 60. Oh, and you can check out all of these things on YouTube. Just go to Fort Peck Community College Buffalo Chasers podcast, and it has them all on there. You can watch all those. We try to keep it just right at an hour, so everybody can kind of manage their daily activities around us and with us, and so want to make time and be consistent in that way, so everybody can kind of make their schedules accordingly. But well, all of you new ones that are here, we welcome you here. You do have an opportunity to go back and view some of those things, and I think they're titled and stuff like that. So I know that Toshka is kind of technically capable of doing that sort of stuff. So he's the one who hooked us up like that. And of course, Chie Nietzsche Ole, also known as Earl Bullhead, he comes and helps us all the time. And so he's here with us on various weeks. But this week he couldn't make it because he had a little bit of health issues and concerns. He called me earlier. He called me twice today. Once this morning, we talked for a couple of hours. And then he called me this afternoon and let me know that he has some health concerns, but he'll be back with us. And he might come on yet this afternoon, depending on when his test got through at the clinic there in 48. But so he said if he got back, he'd be here. Oh, Sheila, Hechushni, Inila. My dog talks Indian. But in that whole process, and also along with those, as we understand the importance of the differences that are out there, why we have this podcast, why do we refer to ourselves as Buffalo Chasers and not just students? Well, if you come to the Fort Peck Community College, we don't care if you're white, black, Chinese, Hungarian, or whatever, you are a Buffalo Chaser. And the reason for that is, again, Okolaki. How do you say that word, Toshka?
I think I remember actually Earl, he wrote it out on that chode drum case for the drumsticks. It was Pte Oyate Okolakichie. Yeah,
Okolakichie. And what that means is we're friends in it together, or it's a society in reference to that. But basically we're together friends, eh? And it represents that society sort of an aspect. And so when you become a Buffalo Chaser, we don't care who you are or what you are, you're included in all of these things. But through that process, we wanted our students to understand the importance of that diversity that exists there on behalf of the uniqueness as who we are as Dakota and Lakota people, that we can enrich and enhance our young people into understanding the importance of that through these teachings and through this guidance. And so that diversity doesn't present you with an opportunity to be cognitively dissident based on your upbringings, but it gives you an understanding of you have other options or other avenues in which to make yourself stronger in that sense. And that's what our way of life is. It's about the development of your character to help you prepare for some of the things that you'll be going through in life, and so that you become strong. And then we help you to understand, and there's words in our language that we utilize to really emphasize those things. But again, a lot of people don't understand the language, and so we try to say it in English as much as we can. And if we say a word in our language, we try to translate it as clearly as we can. But there's words that we share in our language that have a history, a philosophical approach to life that really means a lot more than one word. Like in English language, one word just means that. Well, in us, it's a philosophical understanding of how we choose to live and how different we are. Not wrong, just different. And so now as we go forward, a lot of people refer to that diversity with some sense of negative connotation. So they use the word decolonization. Personally, myself, I don't like using that. I'd like to use the word becoming more culturally responsive. And then my niece, Diane, also said, well, it's possibly too because of the cultural ineptness that our people have. And that is true. But we want to stay on the positive side, eh? So cultural responsiveness is what we're aspiring to, dealing with this cultural ineptness that we may have with us. And so that's the purpose of our podcast, to really kind of keep things in perspective. And we learned all that we could possibly learn. And we're going to continue to learn. As you listen to the elders, they will share with us. We never stop learning. We'll always learn. Every day we learn something new. There's so much vastness of that knowledge out there that you could never learn it all in one day. And of course, it was shared with us, one of the concepts of our teaching is abstract learning. And a lot of these things that we talk about is based on experiential teachings. And so that's how we teach. You know, we could acquire this understanding or this knowledge through reading, writing, and arithmetic in that way of learning. But at the same time, we need to realize to achieve a sense of balance and respect to who we are as a human being, the two-legged. We also incorporate experiential teaching, which we can refer to as abstract learning. And that's what the podcast is all about. You know, one of the biggest things that humans sometimes regret is our ability to reason. Because it kind of takes us away from that natural experience, eh? And a lot of people don't understand that we as natural people, we learn lots from the trees, the rocks, the birds, the things that crawl on the ground, the things that swim on the earth. All of these things help us to understand our place as a two-legged in this vast, what we refer to as Wamakashka. And Wamakashka means all that creation, what I just named, the trees, all these things, the rocks. We believe they all have spirits. They're all spiritually encased in these various vehicles in which they utilize. And we can learn lots from them. You know, take for instance, a tree. You know, what the heck's a tree? A tree is a tree. But to us, a tree has a spirit. It teaches us how to deal with, let's say up here in the north, the 4 seasons, eh? How to withstand the bitter cold. How do they go within themselves? They kind of hibernate for a little while. Then when the spring comes out, their leaves come out and they grow, and they help us to understand the importance of that fresh air that they give out, eh? To that photosynthesis that they receive from all this vitamin D that they receive. So we don't take that for granted. We appreciate that. And you know, like various other things in that natural concept, we're more observant of these things. The little ant and how to be really working all the time, eh? How the benefits are, and you see a little tiny ant. How does he do that? Oh, correct. How do they get away? But if you watch them, they're working all the time, and everybody has a responsibility. Everybody has a purpose in that little society that they have, or that little tribe that they have. And if you take the time to watch them, they all are responsible to that. And in that, we learn in that way. But at the same time, that's why I say humans sometimes get jealous, because we have this opportunity to have reason, which incorporates logic and rationale in our decision-making process. And so we also are a part of that. We also realize that. We also consider that. And we've also adapted to, again, fulfill that void that a more contemporary way of life is wanting us to take on, so that we can do these things. But when you incorporate the two, when you include the two, that makes you a stronger person, eh? Contemporary, as a contemporary individual. And we've adapted some of these technical things to really help us learn a lot more. That's why I have gained a lot of appreciation for what Toshka has really excelled in, and that's that technical aspect of who we are as a people today. And in that, even me, as I'm not very old, I'm 69, but we had to adapt to this new technology. We had to really kind of, oh man, go beyond some of our protocols to really get involved. And it was not an easy thing to do. But once we did it, once we became comfortable with it, once we realized there's an opportunity here to go beyond COVID, respect that COVID and go beyond it, and really continue to maintain this communication that humans need based on that ability to reason. Because we need other opinions in our life to really understand the importance of the diversity that's out there, just in personalities or whatever your purpose and your dedication in life is as you follow that. And that's about how we talk about, and you heard me pray about the ones that are making good tracks on this road of understanding. And again, that's how we think. That's how we do these things. You know, Toshka, I got a text this morning from one of my older brothers, boy lad, and he let me know that one of our brothers, Tony Brown, oh man, he's my favorite fancy dancer from back in the day, and he passed away this morning. And I just wanted to help people understand that long ago, and of course me and boy were exchanging stories and stuff, and how it used to be and how it was, and the boys would all load up and go to the next powwow, and you see, powwow was not just a whole bunch of grab ass and partying. It wasn't that. It was a very controlled environment in which we could continue to exercise our value system in a respectful, dignified way, which in turn sustained who we were as the right of our own integrity as a people. And in that's why it was so attractive to Indians. And powwow is a prime example of all these different nations coming together in spite of their ethnocentric beliefs or their ability to again be that diverse group. We could come together in a good way under the spirituality and just celebrate life. And so a lot of people look at powwow like it's just whatever party sort of, and it's not. It's a very respectful, dignified, honorable event in how we celebrate life. And we let the Creator know, as we've adorned ourselves in our finest regalia, we let the Creator know, whatever that Creator is, we're doing okay. Our legs are working, our arms are working, our mind is working. And through this vehicle, we can share in a good way as we listen to the heartbeat of our Mother Earth through the drum, and keep in time with that, and respectfully share stories of survival on the dance floor. And again, that's the beauty of what that all is. And there's a protocol to that. There's a way to go about it and be comfortable. And that's what we're talking about this morning, and how it used to be, and load up the boys and get to the next one. However, because we knew if we got to the next powwow, we'd be taken care of, because we were considered visitors, and the visitors were always looked after. Because the locals understood they needed money for gas, they needed to eat, they needed blankets for warmth, all that good stuff. And so we really understood the importance of that. We wanted to make sure that.
Oh, Dix, I don't hear you anymore. We don't see you on the program. Oh, there, Yahidi, Yagli.
Oh man, that's why I came home to do my podcast, because I left my charger over here, and here I unplugged it. The dogs did anyway. But anyway, getting back to how we did these things, we needed all these items, but as a visitor. And then, of course, when we come there, we brought something for them. We didn't come empty-handed. And that was our ability to celebrate life in a good way. And of course, There were some that were very proficient at it as a result of understanding the importance of that educational process that was provided to us through the enactment or the involvement of that activity and that celebration of life. So where we let the Creator know that everything was okay. And yes, in spite of COVID, in spite of all the death, all of the hardships, we still, as humble people, like Chewi Chasha, we still maintained a sense of honor and dignity as we prepared ourselves to someday soon go and face that mystery of death. And in that, it's something we did not fear. It's something that, and people looked at us like, well, like you're all stoic. How come you don't show no emotion? It was a part of our preparation. It was a part of our character development to be ready for that. And so in that, all these different aspects or different characteristics about who and what we were as a people were never identified as with some sense of legitimacy. They were always kind of cast aside, but yet we lived it and we survived it and we did it. And now through the podcast, we're trying to help everyone understand this is how we do it. This is the attitude we have. We're not dying of heart attacks or anything like that. And we're trying to address some of these things that some of our people don't follow the protocol. And so they end up with drugs and alcohol and all that, which is the symptoms of what the true experience in which we're trying to overcome really is. And that's the cultural and the historical trauma that we've experienced as a result of past atrocities. But we didn't look bad on that. We didn't look negatively on that. We found that something that we needed to overcome as a people. And so we stepped away from the drugs and the alcohol. Myself, I haven't done drugs or alcohol for over 40 years, but I don't go and brag about it. I just live it. And nobody has asked me, well, Tommy, how did you do it? Well, I learned how to respect myself. And after that, I learned how to respect others. And after that, I learned how to respect the whole community and tried to be a beneficial part of that community without virtual signaling about it, Just being an Indian. Wama Dakota, Lakota Hemacha, Nakona Miano. That, when I say that, that's what I'm saying. And I'm not lying, because it's people like Tony Brown, Boy Ladd, Joe Sam Scabby-Road. That's what we were. We were just common people, but yet we would travel all over the country and visitors, as visitors, and the local people would take care of us. We weren't apathetic. We weren't lazy, no good, no account, blah, blah, this, that, and other. We were just people that had an ability to share in this celebration of life to make people feel good. Look at all the audience that's out there. They watch you dance and they just makes them feel good and feel powerful again and say, oh man, look how many people we've enticed and involved into that circle of life just from that experience. So, oh, I wish I could do that. We'd say, you can, just do it. And we'd get over this fear of being in a crowd. One of the most fearful things as a human being is to stand in front of a crowd and talk. What do you think it is like to be to dance in front of a crowd and not make a mistake? It's very fearful, but at the same time, our people need to recognize how much character those dancers have, those dancers carry, and that educational system that is within ourselves. It learns us about discipline, respect, responsibility. All of these things is a part of the dancer's life, managing and taking care of your regalia in a respectful way, not just washing it up, keeping it clean, but there's ceremonies. Like me, every year I would feed my regalia. I'd lay it out like it's being worn, and then I'd break out my pipe and I'd pray that this week can continue to respect these items that are shared with us. And the items that most dancers wear are items of others, other people. Like all my whole regalia that I have, all of it was given to me. And so I want always to be mindful of those families that shared with me that it was given to me, So I wanted to make sure that I represented them always in a dignified, honorable way. Wama Dakota, that's what that means. Lakota Imacha, that's what that means. Nakona Miano, that's what that means. It doesn't mean how tough you are, or how smart you are, or how good you could talk. It means that representation of you maintaining that sense of dignity and honor in such a good way. And so when me and Boy was talking this morning, we were texting, we was thinking about all those things and some of the crazy stuff we do just as human beings. That's why I brought up that factor of reasoning. We also have to reason about everything. And animals don't do that. They just go and live their life naturally. Well, here's humans trying. Old Boy said we used to flip a coin to go to see what power we'd go to next and stuff like that. But in that, we have to incorporate situations like that as a human being, as a two-legged, to include ourselves in that natural law, and help make sure that we always are respectful. Another difference that was shared with me, another individual asked me, Tommy, what's the difference between the animal world and the human world? I said, well, one of the things that was shared with me long ago was that humans can kill at a distance. That's one of the differences. And people kind of take that for granted as well. Well, think about that. That's a difference that we have. But yet, if we kill just for the sake of killing, it no longer becomes a character development, becomes something you're doing just for fun, just for the sake of killing. And they have a word for that in the white man's world. It's called becoming a psychopath. Well, no conscience, nothing like that. But Indian people always try to just take the life of another thing for the sake of their sustenance, for the sake of their own survival. And so when they did kill at a distance, they always offered tobacco to that spirit of that animal, or that thing. And before they picked berries, they always offered tobacco. Before they picked medicine, they always offered tobacco to the spirit of that particular item that they were taking from Mother Earth. Because if you stop and you think about it, all of these things I speak about evolved from their mother, which is our Mother Earth. And in that thinking, in that process, then we start realizing and recognizing what is our first medicine. Then people say, oh, blah, 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 this. No, our first medicine, because 80% of any human being is water. And that's why we fight so hard and struggle so hard to defend the purity of our water, because we understand the importance of protecting it to the point to where they're not realizing. And then when we talk about cultural ineptness, that's what we mean. Maybe those folks don't understand what they're doing to our first medicine. Maybe they don't understand that there's more to it by protecting the water than taking from it, or for exploiting it for whatever they do with it. I don't know what they do with it all, but instead of contaminating it, they need to protect it, and the emphasis needs to be there. But that's the way we live. Philosophically, that's our way of life. That's our first medicine. And so then they get all in the uproar because, well, don't you know, if we could get money out of this, we can get money out of that. But can it give you life? Can you breathe that money? Can you eat that money and sustain you? And to us, it's a joke. To them, they're very serious about that. They're capitalizing on various things, But again, is that wrong? Evidently not to them, but to us, it kind of rubs our fur the wrong way. But yet we've learned how to adapt, because we too, as First Nations people, we enjoy a vehicle, a nice car down the road, nice house to come back to live in, and all that good stuff. Really like my central air in the summer, like my darn good furnace in the winter. Don't have to make a fire in the middle. and fight the smoke and all that good stuff. Get up early in the morning, then restart the fire. We used to do that. But people need to understand the importance of what we share is just different. It's not wrong. And we're not trying to go back to live in teepees or live on wagon trains. We enjoy the more contemporary ways of life that bring comfort to us. But at the same time, we don't want to leave behind. We don't want to deny the fact that there were people that were much, much older than us that fought for these things. And philosophically, that is why they fought for them. But to remain, always try to remain apolitical and apersonal was important to us. Because again, we took a perspective of individuality, us, we, and them. We didn't have one of individualism where it's I, me, my, eh? And we wanted to get away from that. We wanted to make sure that we can continue to understand the importance of the protocol, not the regulatory authority that's instilled by a doctrine that is not ours, but one that can help us to sustain our way of life through that protocol so that we could keep it. We could keep it here. We can keep protecting the water. We can keep protecting the environment, if you will. All these good things, and we're all just a part of that. And we all would like to have that consistent spiritual understanding of the diversity that's there. And so, we do these things, and geez, that just one little text message from Boy about the loss of one of our brothers, Tony Brown, really made me start thinking about how it used to be and how it was back in the late 80s and early 90s and all that good stuff, and how we used to kind of tough it out. You'll never get rich at a powwow because you win, you'd load some guys up in your vehicle, and one of us got to win to make the next one, and of course you wouldn't. So you'd share your winnings with others. I know that my children's, one of their mothers, they get mad at me and said, Tommy, when you win, how come you always give your money away? I said, that's the way I was taught. We don't have very much, but what little we have, we're taught to share. And so at powwows, I'd give out 20, 50, $100 sometimes to those that needed it before we headed out to the next powwow, because we knew they needed it for food or for gas or whatever the case would be. And so you're not going to get rich at a powwow, but yet because we share, we have this opportunity to exercise the importance of this virtue of generosity. But we don't have to. We didn't have to do that, because there's some winners that are stingier and heck, they won't give you nothing, man. But they're not very comfortable with themselves when they do stuff like that. They're not very happy people. And you can strive to be capitalistic as you want at a powwow, because they do give out money. But if you don't utilize that money in a respectful way, then you're just defeating the purpose of this celebration of life, eh? You're just kind of denying some of this generosity that the Creator is sharing with you as it relates to your knees are good, your arms are good, your legs are good, your mind is good, you can still dance in time, your breathing is good, all that stuff. And the preparation it takes to make sure that you can continue to go out there and respectfully be dignified and honorable when you present yourself in your finest regalia as a result of works of others that gave you that roach, that gave you those earrings, that put that beadwork on you, that made that breastplate for you, that made and created your moccasins and helped you get all this stuff together, and then get out there and just share a really dandy story to the heartbeat of our Mother Earth, which comes from the drum, eh? And that whole experience is something. It has an education itself. One of the things I always like to share with, especially our women, because the majority of them start out as fancy dancers, eh? Did you ever consider that a lot of our non-Indian relatives, a lot of the non-Indian, the white women, they always concern themselves with poise, eh? They want to be have that poise, and so they walk around with books on their heads, and it has to do with balance. But in our way, think about the fancy dancers, the fancy shawl dancers. Look how much poise they have to have, how much balance they got to acquire in order to represent in a dignified, honorable way, not for themselves, but for their family and their tribe and their communities in which they come from. Does that all make sense now, Tushka? You see?
Heck yeah. You know, when I'm listening to you talk, you know, we talked about this. You know what keeps coming to mind? Teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. You know why? Do you know why? What is the dream? This is what I'm thinking, right? The dream is the enrichment and the enhancement of the children. Can I get a hallelujah?
Hallelujah, brother man. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I've heard you say that multiple times, but really it's about like teamwork. And sometimes when we're a student, from a student perspective, we have to be part of the team in order to be successful, and even to find individual success, whether it's power or whatever. That's kind of the attitude I think is going to make us successful. And so that's okoda kichie, this society that we're trying to establish, or I don't like to say legitimize, but it's like it's already been here. We're just like back to the old school and trying to drag it into contemporary times and into the future. And I would be remiss if I did not bring this up, just because I'm listening to talk about all these good things. In Indian country, in social media and whatnot, it's been kind of going around. There was an individual that was very instrumental, one of the founders of the American Indian movement, Clyde Belcourt, I believe his name. He recently passed, right? And so that was kind of on my mind. But we always want to, like you said, remain apolitical. And one of the outstanding achievements and outcomes of the American Indian movement, which I always thought was really cool, was that, and this individual and many others like him, they were like freedom fighters in essence, right? For the people, despite a lot of personal sacrifices. One of them still in prison for many years, you know. But a lot of them, they've made their journey. Makawi Choni Ayushta, you know, it's finished, but they're going to keep, but they left behind a legacy. And so individuals like yourself, they continue to share these things, man, because we don't want to lose them, because it's an enrichment and enhancement for our children, right? In order to be successful. And we almost need to hold on to it even more nowadays, even more so, just because there's so many distractions, so many things that it makes it hard to be mindful and have our tokatakia, you know, for the children in the future, to have that in our forefront of our minds, right? You know, and one of these things we always talk about having we open up with prayer, right? One of those things that I think the aim, one of the benefits that I think isn't recognized by the youth was that Indian Religious Freedom Act. Some of our people kind of had to do things on the down low, right? Some of your, I know you talked about that. And so you guys, now we can go to tribal colleges like here in Buffalo Chaser country, and there is no separation of church and state. It's embedded in who we are, baby. You know, we that. I think that's really a benefit if you're one of our students here. But as we kind of close up this session here, there's another I guess national headline that was like Indian country. I was thinking about that one as we were talking. The other national headline that's been ongoing, what is the uptick in COVID cases with the Omicron variant, right? Someone sent me a link here a few hours ago. In Roosevelt County, there's more cases. So in some ways, not to like scare people, but we're making headway with all this stuff. But this virtual format that we're doing probably isn't going away. We're going to continue to utilize it. Definitely moving forward for I think the benefit of all of our students. You know, there's been a lot of positive feedback, you know, from Dekshi Earl and Dekshi Tommy. Dekshi, that means uncle. Lekshi, uncle, Nekshi. So sharing that, you know, I don't want to lose anybody when we start talking too Indian, I guess, but like that's what that means, and that's that relationship based approach to language and relationships with people, I think is important. But I think with this Omicron variant, it's not going away, but we're going to continue to utilize this platform. And then definitely the new students, new people that are listening to this programming, you know, I like to joke around with Dekshi Tommy a little bit. He's kind of a famous guy, man. He's kind of been all over Ayapaha, kind of almost like he speaks in front of the people type thing. I don't know how exactly to translate that. Not announcer, but like there's more to it than that, right?
Yeah.
Where are you going? You're going to be going to Ayapaha at Wachipi, Pawa, Wachipi in Missoula, right? Missoula. Bozeman. He's been all up in Canada for years, so he isn't just talking out of his own zay when he shares this stuff. Really good stuff. He was even asked to go on some national syndicate radio with Dr. What's his name?
Drew.
Dr. Drew. This guy. They were trying to get him with that guy to kind of talk about some mental health stuff. So we're doing a lot of cool things. But before we tune out here, did you get a chance to check out that Wachacha booklet we did yesterday?
Well, that it's coming back like the old days. Mike stopped down and seen me, Toshka Mike, and we was visiting. He said, "Yeah, I got a copy of that." And he said, "Oh man, I always make reference to it because a lot of those old stories, they just I knew all those people, the authors of these various things, and I heard them personally from them, eh? And it's amazing how we've evolved to more platforms to really address these issues of diversity that exist out there. And we're not savages, we're not heathens or pagans or anything like that, but we have a legitimate protocol that we follow. And in that, we try to respectfully represent, in that whole thing, because we don't represent just ourselves, we represent our family, our tribe, our communities in which we come from. And we always try to maintain that honor and dignity for the ability to sustain the integrity of who we are as our people, So, that's just it. Yeah, so that means don't do that. My dog talks Indian. But in that's the importance of like the old people. A lot of those people that are in that book, they're no longer here. Oh man, Dallas Forster, I was reading his little article, and he was one of the most learned men because he was taught that from his grandparents on the medicines that we have here. My dad used to go to him all the time. And it's different when you say it in English and you speak the language, eh? He was better able to recognize these things. My dad would, once you speak the language, and it's a different understanding of how important to sustain these things in a good way. But Dallas was one of the, you could even call him a doctor if you would, because he had these, kind of like the pharmacist, I guess. And our ability to do these things. I was reading that one, and I said, oh man, people don't know what they had with Dallas being here. And he tried so hard to help people understand in the language, in the Assiniboine language, but they weren't getting it, eh? They weren't getting it, because then he'd have to try and explain it in English, and it didn't mean the same, eh? That's the difference that exists there. But some of those that Wachaga just helped me understand how important things like this are now, that adaptability. Some of the old folks that are going, like, who'd ever think that Tony Brown would, my good friend, our brother, we'd lose him so soon. And he was quite old. I don't know, I think he's about 60-ish or something like that. But it just kind of catches you differently. And so that helps us to understand, yeah, we're preparing, we're making a good way for ourselves. But at the same time, we want to dispel that fear of that mystery of death by helping them understand in your preparation. Be good to everything and everybody as well as you can. And that's nak e nula wahu. You get ready like that, eh? In our language, that's what we say. But we try to share that in a good way through these processes that are afforded us now, like Zoom, like a lot of the technology that's there. We need to take advantage of it and utilize it in a good way. And although we joke about it, it's really serious to really take on some of these tools that are giving us an opportunity to share. And again, of course, we always keep in mind, like, again, I ask all the people to keep in mind nature. He's very sick, but if you keep him in your prayers, we really appreciate that, because again, but he'll be all right in a few days. We know he will. He just had to get some medicine, go through a medical therapy, and then he was going to be done. But I see he didn't get a chance to get back to his house. So, but he'll be all right for next one. So, Wama, Kanushta.
Oh, washte. In closing, I was thinking about something. Former Fort Peck Community College president, Dr. Jim James Shanley, I heard him say something one time, and it was really interesting. I've always thought about it. And what he said was that education is synonymous with freedom. Education is synonymous with freedom. And so that was always one of the motivations that he had to create tribal colleges, to create these platforms, to do what he did at those times in the early days of the tribal college movement, to allow us to kind of be here. So with that in mind,
Toshka, I got one more thing.
Yes, sir.
It would, speaking about remiss, it would be remiss of me if I didn't really acknowledge, like I spoke a lot about brother Tony Brown, and of course the illness of Chie Nicho. But tomorrow they're gonna have services for one of the greatest leaders here on the Fort Peck Reservation. He was again a member of AIM. He went on the longest walk. They took over the BIA, not for his sake, but for the sake of all of the Indian people, the indigenous people here in the United States. And of course, this is Highway 2. At one time, it was 45 miles an hour right in front of the school. He found it important that needs to change to 25 miles an hour for the sake of our children and protecting them. He had a vision, he had a dream about the water when I spoke about the water. And so as a result of that vision, that dream, he followed up with it. And now we have a water treatment plant that's named after him. That Eagle Shield water treatment plant it precipitated from a vision that he had. And I hope the family doesn't mind me speaking about him at this time, because tomorrow is going to be his wake. And then on Saturday, they'll be burying him. And personally, I think he should be buried in a chief-like manner, but that's just me, because of all of the good things that he did. And you know something, what was really unique about him was that as much as he stood in front and stood up for the people, what they said about him was he was very deliberate, and the manner in which he did things is very effective, but he never had an enemy. You never thought of him as an enemy, in spite of his ability to get the needs of the people across. And so he went out in an honorable and dignified way, and stuck up for those of us that were tough. One of the things I learned from him was when he was on the council, he had this little book that he kept with him, and people would come to him with concerns, and so he'd write them down so he didn't forget them. Then he'd stick it back in his boot or wherever he had it. I noticed he used to put it in his boot, a little tablet. And what I learned from that is he didn't want to forget, so he wrote it down. And me, with my mindless stuff, instead of writing a book, writing it down in a book, if they come and ask me to do something, I do it right away. And so I wouldn't forget. But I learned that from my older brother there, my Kla, Caleb Shields. And so he's one of our greatest, if not the greatest leader we have here. And there's a lot of competition out there. Chairman Bill Yuppie, Chairman Norman Hollow, Chairman Ray White Tailfeathers, Chairman Kenny Ryan, Chairman Larry Wetzel. There's a lot of people out there but I would dare say, and I take it upon myself to really look at him as one of the greatest leaders here on the reservation as it relates to getting things done for the sake of Ekchewi Chasha. And the thing that I'd like to say to that is it all came from the spirituality of who we are as a people.
Oh, washte. Thank you for sharing, Dekshi. Again, relatives, so education is the answer. Education, cultural literacy is one aspect that we like to talk about here a little bit. And also there's that formal higher education that we offer here at Fort Peck Community College. We smash them all together, and hopefully you have a good experience here. We are still have registration open. So if you're interested in being a buffalo chaser, come on down, sign up for some classes. There are many, many resources available. to put you in a position to be successful, laptops, and we have all kinds of stipend funding and scholarships. We really try to make an offer you just can't refuse. So hopefully we'll see you down here next week. Doksta ke wachia kapikte mitakipi. Have a great day.
Oh.
Hey ha ya, hey ha ya, hey ya, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey ha ya.